Silent Guess. Chapter 9. The Wrong Man. By the time Oliver Reed unlocked the music room for the second time that morning, Elliot Brooks had become the person nobody wanted to stand beside. Nobody had accused him of anything directly. There had been no dramatic confrontation on the staircase, no demand that he surrender his camera, no sudden declaration that the mystery had been solved. The change was subtler than that, and Lucy found it considerably more disturbing. As the group gathered outside the room where Amelia Pembroke's notebook had been discovered, people arranged themselves differently without appearing to realize they were doing it. Andrew stood beside Helen. Henry remained close to Oliver. Marcus leaned against the opposite wall with his arms folded. Evelyn stayed near Lucy. Elliot stood alone. He seemed aware of it. If it bothered him, he gave no indication. Oliver turned the key and pushed open the heavy oak door. The room remained exactly as they had left it. The fallen bookcase lay diagonally across the floor, surrounded by scattered volumes and old music scores. Gray daylight entered through the French doors, illuminating the damp marks left by the footprints that had already begun disappearing beneath the previous rain. The covered piano dominated the far side of the room, while Amelia's notebook remained where Oliver had left it, protected inside a clear document sleeve Neil had found among Arthur's archival supplies. Oliver stepped inside first. "Stay near the doorway." Marcus sighed. "We know." "I'm pleased something I say is sinking in." Under different circumstances, the remark might have earned a laugh. Nobody laughed now. Oliver crossed towards the notebook and crouched beside it. He did not immediately pick it up. Instead, he studied the worn leather cover, the binding and the edges of the pages before looking towards Evelyn. "You're certain this is the notebook Amelia had at the exhibition?" Evelyn remained near Lucy. "I think so. That isn't the same as being certain." "I know." She looked frustrated with herself. "It was 10 years ago. I saw it for maybe half an hour." "What do you remember?" "Brown leather, elastic strap, her initials inside the cover." Oliver looked towards Neil. "Did Amelia mark her journals?" "Usually." "How?" "A P in the year." Oliver carefully opened the cover. The first page contained 2 handwritten letters. A P. Beneath them, 2016. Nobody spoke. Evelyn swallowed. "That's it." Oliver turned towards her. "Tell us about the photograph." Evelyn closed her eyes briefly, gathering the memory before speaking. "The exhibition was in Glasgow, a small gallery near the university. I was 24 and had somehow convinced myself I was going to become a proper illustrator within 6 months. Lucy smiled faintly. "What happened?" "I discovered nobody else had received the 6-month deadline." A little warmth passed through the group. Even Elliot smiled. Evelyn continued. "I was displaying portraits. Amelia approached me near closing time and asked whether I could draw someone from a description." "A police sketch?" Oliver asked. "Not exactly. She didn't want the police involved." Henry looked down. That detail fitted everything they now knew. "She described a man she'd seen several times," Evelyn continued. "Outside her flat, near the hotel, once across the road from the hospital." Lucy felt a chill. "The same man who followed her?" "I assumed so." "What did he look like?" Evelyn hesitated. "Ordinary." Marcus frowned. "That's helpful." "It's exactly what frightened her." Evelyn looked towards him. "She said there was nothing distinctive enough to remember. Medium height, dark hair, clean-shaven, usually wore glasses. She thought he was somewhere between 35 and 50. "That could describe thousands of men," Andrew said. "Yes." "That was the problem." Oliver nodded. "And the photograph?" Evelyn looked towards Amelia's notebook. "She removed it from between 2 pages. "You saw the image?" "No, she kept it face down." "Why?" "I asked." Evelyn's expression changed. "She said she didn't want me drawing from the photograph." Lucy frowned. Why ask an artist to draw someone when she already had a photograph? "Because the man she wanted me to draw wasn't the person in the photograph." The room became very still. Oliver looked up. Explain that. I can't. Evelyn shook her head. She said the photograph proved she was right about something, but the man following her was someone else. Lucy felt two pieces of the mystery separate that they had been unconsciously trying to force together. The photograph, the follower. Not necessarily the same person. What happened to your sketch? Oliver asked. I gave it to Amelia. Did you keep a copy? No. Did Arthur ever contact you about it? Evelyn hesitated. Yes. Several people turned towards her. Oliver's expression hardened. When? About 3 months ago. And you neglected to mention that? I told you Arthur contacted me because of Amelia. You did not tell me he specifically asked about a sketch of the man following her? Evelyn's face flushed. I didn't know it mattered until Henry told us she'd actually been followed. Oliver waited a moment before continuing. What did Arthur ask? Whether I remembered the face. And did you? Not clearly. Did he show you anything? Evelyn looked towards Elliot. A photograph. Lucy's stomach tightened. What photograph? An old group photograph. He asked whether anyone in it resembled the man Amelia described. Did they? No. Who was in the photograph? I didn't recognize anyone. Elliot had stopped smiling. Oliver noticed. Something wrong? No. You reacted. Elliot looked towards him. Because everyone keeps saying photograph as though that makes me responsible for every camera that existed in 2016. Marcus unfolded his arms. No one said that. You didn't need to. Oliver stepped between the direction of their gazes rather than physically between the men. Let's keep this useful. He looked back towards Evelyn. And did Arthur tell you where the group photograph came from? No. Hotel? I don't know. Did he have it with him when you arrived here? I haven't seen it since. Lucy thought immediately of the empty divider in Arthur's folder. Calder Hotel, photographic evidence. Perhaps they had been assuming there was only one missing photograph. Nobody had established that. Oliver seemed to reach the same thought. How many photographs did Arthur have relating to the Calder Hotel? No one could answer. He looked towards Neil. Do you know? Neil shook his head. Arthur printed hundreds over the years. Did he develop them himself? No. The answer came from Elliot. Everyone looked towards him. He seemed to realize his mistake immediately. Oliver's voice remained very calm. How do you know? Elliot stared at him. I don't. You just answered. I meant someone like Arthur probably wouldn't. That isn't what you said. Elliot looked towards the window. For the first time, Lucy saw genuine tension in his face. Oliver waited. Mr. Brooks? Elliot exhaled. I printed some for him. Nobody moved. Lucy felt the revelation settle slowly rather than all at once. Marcus was first to understand its significance. You told us you'd never corresponded with Arthur. I didn't. Oliver's tone hardened. You told me you had never had contact with him before coming here. No. Elliot looked towards him. You asked if I had met him or corresponded with him. And? I hadn't. Lucy stared at him. You printed photographs for him without speaking to him. Yes. How? Elliot rubbed one hand across his forehead. Through my business. Another secret. Another carefully literal answer. Oliver closed his notebook. Start talking. Elliot looked around the room. For once he seemed to dislike having everyone's attention. I run a restoration service. Andrew frowned. You're a photographer. I am both. For old photographs? Photographs, negatives, damaged film, occasionally glass plates. Museums send work. Families send things they find in attics. Solicitors sometimes send damaged evidence copies. Lucy understood before he finished. Arthur sent you Amelia's photographs. Elliot nodded. When? First time was about 8 months ago. How many? Maybe 20. Did you know who he was? No. The order came under A. Pembroke. Marcus stared at him. And that didn't occur to you when Arthur Pembroke invited you to an island? Of course it did. Yet you said nothing. I didn't know they were connected. Marcus laughed incredulously. You restored photographs for a man called A. Pembroke, then a man called Arthur Pembroke invited you to his house, and you thought it was coincidence? I receive hundreds of jobs. On an island full of people connected to his dead daughter? I didn't know that when I arrived. Oliver lifted a hand before Marcus could continue. What was in the photographs? Elliot looked towards him. Mostly ordinary images. Hotel exteriors, streets, people entering buildings, cars. The Calder Hotel? Some. Did Arthur send the original photographs? Digital scans. Anything unusual? Elliot hesitated. Lucy felt her stomach sink. There it is, Marcus said, and Elliot glared at him. There what is? The bit you haven't told us yet. Oliver ignored Marcus. Elliot? One photograph was damaged. How? The center had been scratched. Accidentally? No. The certainty in his answer silenced the room. How could you tell? Lucy asked. Damage has patterns. Aging, moisture, abrasion, chemical degradation. This was deliberate. Someone had taken something sharp to the emulsion. What part of the image? A person. Oliver stepped closer. Could you recover it? Partially. And did you? Yes. Lucy suddenly became aware of the camera hanging against Elliot's chest. Do you still have the restored image? Elliot didn't answer. Marcus straightened. You do. Elliot looked towards Oliver. I have a working copy. Where? On my camera. The silence that followed was unlike the others. Oliver held out his hand. Show me. Elliot remained motionless. Now. Slowly, reluctantly, Elliot removed the camera strap from around his neck. He did not hand the camera over. Instead, he switched it on and moved through several menus. Lucy watched his thumb. Photographs appeared and disappeared across the small screen. The gardens, Ravensmere House, Arthur beneath the cedar tree, portraits of the guests, then older images, scanned photographs, the Calder Hotel, a street at night, a parked car, a grainy image of two men beside a service entrance. Elliot stopped. This one. Oliver took the camera. Lucy moved closer. The photograph showed the entrance to what appeared to be an underground car park. The original image was poor, probably taken from considerable distance, but the restoration had brought surprising detail from the shadows. Two figures stood beside a dark vehicle. One was Edward Bell. Marcus identified him immediately. That's him. You're certain? Oliver asked. Yes. Bell looked younger than Lucy had imagined. He wore a hotel uniform beneath an open coat and appeared to be handing something to the second person. That person's face remained partly obscured, but not completely. Lucy stared at the screen. Who is he? Marcus leaned closer. I don't know. Oliver enlarged the image. The restoration had recovered the outline of a face, a pair of glasses, and part of a coat. No one in the room immediately recognized him. Elliot took the camera back. This is why I didn't say anything. Oliver looked furious now. Why? Because I couldn't identify him. That is not your decision to make. I wanted to be certain. Arthur is dead. I know that. Then you should also know certainty is a luxury we no longer have. For the first time, Elliot raised his voice. I know exactly what bad identification does. The anger surprised everyone. It disappeared almost immediately. Lucy looked towards him. What does that mean? Elliot's jaw tightened. Nothing. No. Lucy shook her head. That meant something. Elliot looked away. Oliver waited. Eventually, Elliot spoke. My brother went to prison when I was 19. Nobody interrupted. A witness identified him after a robbery. Said she was certain. He swallowed. She was wrong. Andrew frowned. What happened? Another man confessed 14 months later. Elliot looked towards the camera. My brother came home. His marriage didn't. The room fell quiet. So I don't identify faces unless I'm certain, Elliot said. I don't tell people an image proves something when it doesn't. Pixels aren't truth just because somebody wants them to be. Lucy understood him differently then. The silence, the precision, the refusal to speculate, even the way he photographed people without asking them to pose. Elliot Brooks did not distrust people. He distrusted certainty. Arthur had probably recognized that quality. Perhaps that was exactly why he had invited him. Oliver's anger softened, though it did not disappear. "You still should have told me." "Yes." Elliot nodded. "I should have." It was the first time he had admitted fault without qualification. Lucy believed him. Then Helen spoke from behind them. "There is something on the car." Everyone turned. Oliver looked back at the image. Helen pointed towards the windscreen. A rectangular permit had been placed behind the glass. Elliot enlarged it. Most of the writing remained unreadable. One symbol was visible. A crest. Andrew stepped forward. "I've seen that." "Where?" Lucy asked. He frowned, searching his memory. "Arthur's archive." The room seemed to sharpen around them. "On what?" "I don't remember." Oliver handed the camera back to Elliot. "Find out." Andrew nodded. "I'll need the archive." "You're not going alone." Oliver looked towards Lucy. "Go with him." Marcus shook his head. "And Elliot?" Oliver turned. "Elliot stays with me." The meaning was unmistakable. Elliot was no longer merely another guest. He was being watched. The archive room had changed since Lucy and Andrew found Amelia's copy of Rebecca there. Not physically, emotionally. The shelves remained exactly as before, boxes arranged according to Arthur's meticulous system, but Lucy now understood that the room contained more than research. It held 10 years of one man trying to reconstruct the final months of his daughter's life. Andrew moved quickly between shelves. Crests, police, local government, hotels, legal. That's reassuringly narrow. "I'm trying." Lucy searched another row. They had agreed to remain within sight of one another. Oliver's instruction had seemed excessive an hour earlier. It no longer did. Andrew opened a box. Nothing. Lucy examined Arthur's labels. Amelia had investigated people, companies, buildings, court proceedings, police records. Then she saw it. Foundations/charities/trusts. Andrew. He joined her. They lowered the box onto the table. Inside were brochures, newspaper clippings, and financial records. Andrew immediately removed one leaflet. The crest matched. A stylized bird above 3 waves. Beneath it were the words, "The Marrow Foundation." Lucy frowned. "What is it?" Andrew unfolded the leaflet. Charitable foundation, youth programs, housing, addiction services. Why was Arthur investigating it? Andrew turned through the papers. Donations. From whom? Businesses. He stopped. The Calder Hotel appeared repeatedly. Marcus's family company had donated substantial sums over several years. Lucy felt unease settle inside her. Could be innocent. Absolutely. Andrew kept reading. Then his expression changed. What? He turned a page towards her. One name had been underlined by Arthur. Robert K., trustee. The senior police officer who had persuaded Helen to suppress Amelia's evidence. Lucy stared. So Kay was connected to the hotel. Indirectly. And Belle? Potentially. Andrew removed another document, a list of trustees. Kay, a solicitor, 2 business owners, a surgeon. Lucy stopped breathing. Andrew. I see it. The name sat halfway down the page, Dr. Henry Shaw. For several seconds, neither spoke. Henry had treated Amelia. Henry had remembered E.B. Henry had been privately questioned by Arthur in the gardens. Henry had concealed that conversation until Neil exposed it. And Henry had been a trustee of the same foundation connecting Robert K. to the Calder Hotel. Lucy felt the case rearranging itself with frightening speed. We need Oliver. Andrew nodded. They had reached the archive room door when footsteps sounded outside. Lucy froze. Someone passed. slowly, then stopped. Andrew reached for the handle. Lucy caught his wrist. They listened. Nothing. A shadow interrupted the strip of light beneath the door. Someone was standing outside. Lucy felt her heart beat against her throat. The handle moved. Once, very gently, then stopped. Andrew looked at her. Lucy reached towards a heavy brass bookend on the desk. The footsteps moved away. They waited another 10 seconds before opening the door. The corridor was empty. At the far end, the door leading toward the servants' staircase swung slowly shut. When Lucy and Andrew returned to the drawing room, Elliot was seated near the window. Oliver stood beside the fireplace. Henry was nowhere in sight. Lucy stopped. "Where's Henry?" Oliver looked towards her. "With Neil." "Where?" "Kitchen." Andrew held up the Marrow Foundation papers. "You need to see this." Oliver read them in silence. His expression gave almost nothing away until he reached Henry's name. Then he looked toward the doorway. Marcus saw it too. "What?" Oliver folded the page. "Nothing yet." Marcus laughed. "You're terrible at saying that convincingly." Helen rose. "Oliver?" He showed them. The reaction was immediate. Marcus stared at the name. "You have got to be joking." Evelyn looked frightened. "Helen said Robert K. was a trustee." "Yes." "And Henry?" "Yes." Marcus turned toward the door. Oliver stepped in front of him. "Sit down." "You're seriously going to tell me this means nothing?" "I'm telling you we don't know what it means." Henry knew Amelia. Henry knew Kay. Henry met Arthur privately before Arthur died. And none of those things prove murder. "No?" Marcus looked across the room towards Elliot. "But apparently restoring a photograph does." Elliot said nothing. The accusation hung there. Lucy looked at Oliver. "We need to ask Henry." "We will. Now." Oliver nodded. He had barely reached the doorway when Henry entered, carrying a tray. Neil followed behind him. Henry noticed the silence immediately. "What happened?" Oliver held up the paper. "Marrow Foundation." Henry stopped. The tray remained perfectly level in his hands. But his face changed. Lucy saw it. So did everyone else. "You were a trustee," Oliver said. Henry placed the tray carefully onto the nearest table. "Yes." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Of course you were." Henry looked around the room. "I can explain." Lucy felt suddenly tired of those words. Everyone could explain. Everyone had an explanation after the truth found them. Oliver pointed towards a chair. "Then explain." Henry sat. "The Marrow Foundation funded addiction treatment programs. I advised on medical policy for approximately 18 months. You knew Robert K. "Yes." "How well?" "Professionally." "Did you know Marcus's family business donated money?" "No." Marcus shook his head. "Convenient." Henry ignored him. Oliver continued. "Did Amelia know you were a trustee?" "I don't know." "Did Arthur?" Henry hesitated. "Yes." Lucy felt another jolt. "He asked you about that in the garden." Henry looked towards her. "Yes." "You said he asked about Amelia." "He did." "That wasn't the whole conversation." "No." "Why do you keep doing this?" For the first time, irritation entered Henry's voice. "Because every fact I reveal becomes an accusation before anyone understands it." Lucy stared at him. "Then help us understand it." Henry looked around the room. Arthur believed someone had used the foundation to move money. Andrew frowned. "Laundering? I don't know." "Blackmail payments?" Marcus asked. "I don't know." "What did Arthur think?" "He wouldn't tell me." Oliver leaned forward. "Did he accuse you?" "No." "Did he threaten you?" "No." "Did you argue?" Henry's answer took slightly too long. "Yes." There it was. Another omission. "What about?" "He accused me of protecting Kay." "Did you?" "No." "Then why argue?" Henry's composure finally cracked. "Because Kay was my friend." The room fell silent. Not professional acquaintance. Friend. Henry rubbed his forehead. I knew him for 20 years. Our wives knew each other. We had dinner together. We played golf badly. When he died, I carried his coffin. His voice weakened. Arthur sat across from me yesterday and suggested Robert might have helped conceal crimes committed through the Calder Hotel. And you defended him? Yes. Did Arthur have evidence? Henry looked towards the leather folder. He said he did. Lucy felt the importance of that answer immediately. What evidence? I don't know. Oliver studied him. Did you kill Arthur Pembroke? The directness stunned the room. Henry stared at him. No. Did you enter his study after 3 o'clock yesterday? No. Did you remove the Calder Hotel photograph? No. Were you outside his study at 6:17 this morning? No. Did you enter the music room before Amelia's notebook was discovered? No. Henry's answers came evenly. Oliver watched him for several seconds, then nodded. For now, that's enough. Marcus looked incredulous. For now? Yes. You've spent all morning practically putting handcuffs on Elliot. Oliver turned sharply. I haven't accused Elliot of murder. You didn't have to. The room erupted before anyone intended it to. Marcus accused Oliver of favoring another police officer's version of events. Henry told Marcus he had spent 2 days redirecting attention whenever his family's business appeared. Helen demanded they stop treating suspicion as proof. Andrew attempted to explain the financial records. Evelyn asked everyone to lower their voices. Through all of it, Elliot remained silent. Lucy noticed first. He wasn't watching the argument. He was looking at his camera. More specifically, the restored Calder Hotel photograph. He enlarged something, then enlarged it again. His expression changed. Not fear, recognition. Lucy moved towards him. What is it? Elliot immediately switched off the screen. Nothing. She stared at him. Don't. What? Don't do this again. His eyes met hers. For perhaps 2 seconds, she saw genuine conflict. I need to check something. Show Oliver. Not yet, Elliot. I've already been wrong once. About what? He stood. Give me 10 minutes. Lucy caught his arm. No one goes anywhere alone. I'm going upstairs. Then I'll come. No. His response was sharper than she expected. Several people noticed. Oliver looked across the room. What's happening? Elliot pulled gently free from Lucy's hand. I need something from my room. What? A hard drive. Oliver frowned. For the photographs? Yes. I'll come with you. Elliot shook his head. You stay here. I'll be 2 minutes. Oliver looked ready to refuse. Then Neil called from the hallway. Oliver! Something in his voice interrupted everyone. Neil stood beneath Amelia's portrait holding an envelope. I found this behind the frame. The argument died instantly. Oliver crossed towards him. Every eye followed. For perhaps 5 seconds, nobody watched Elliot. Lucy did. He looked at the envelope, then towards the staircase, then back at his camera. He had realized something. She was certain of it. Something in the photograph. Something he did not yet trust himself to say. Elliot turned and quietly climbed the stairs. Lucy almost called after him. Then Oliver removed the contents of the envelope. A faded pencil sketch slid into his hand. The face of a man. The man Amelia had believed was following her. Lucy forgot Elliot for just a moment. Only a moment. It would later become one of the moments she regretted most. The sketch had been folded twice before being placed behind Amelia's portrait. Oliver unfolded it carefully on the small table beneath the staircase, while the others gathered around him in a tight semicircle. The paper had yellowed slightly with age, and one edge was torn unevenly, where it appeared to have been ripped from a larger sheet. The drawing itself was unmistakably Evelyn's work. Even in pencil, the face possessed an uncomfortable realism. A man in middle age, dark hair receding slightly at the temples, narrow glasses, a long nose, and an expression difficult to interpret because the artist had given him no obvious emotion. He looked ordinary, exactly as Evelyn had described. Lucy stared at the drawing, trying to reconcile it with the scattered clues of the last 2 days. "This is him?" Oliver asked. Evelyn stood beside the table with both hands clasped tightly together. "Yes." "You're certain?" "Yes." Her answer came more quickly this time. "I remember the jaw. Amelia kept correcting me because she said I was making him look angrier than he really did." Andrew looked towards her. "You drew this 10 years ago?" "I drew it that night." "And Arthur had it?" "I don't know." "Then how did it get behind the portrait?" Marcus asked. No one could answer. Helen leaned closer without touching the page. "Was the original signed?" Evelyn shook her head. "I never signed quick studies." Oliver studied the torn edge. "This may be the original." Lucy looked towards Amelia's portrait above them. The frame had been moved at some point. A faint, clean outline marked the wall behind one corner where dust had not settled evenly. "Someone put it there recently." Oliver followed her gaze. "Possibly." Marcus gave a short laugh. "There's that word again." Oliver ignored him. Lucy looked towards Evelyn. "Did Amelia ever tell you what she planned to do with the sketch?" "She said she wanted to compare it with photographs." "What photographs?" "I don't know." "Hotel photographs." "Maybe." Evelyn swallowed. She was nervous. I remember that more than anything else. "How nervous?" "She checked the gallery window twice while we were talking. Then she asked if there was another exit." Lucy felt the detail settle uncomfortably. She thought he'd followed her there. "Yes." Oliver turned the sketch slightly. "Could you identify this man if you saw him now?" Evelyn stared at the drawing. "After 10 years?" "Yes." She hesitated. "I don't know." Marcus looked around the group. "What if we've already seen him?" Andrew frowned. "Where?" Marcus pointed towards the pile of records from Arthur's archive. "Old photographs, foundation brochures, court records." Helen's eyes sharpened. "That is worth checking." Oliver nodded. "We will." Then Lucy remembered. Elliot. She looked toward the staircase. He had been gone longer than 2 minutes. "Where's Elliot?" The others turned. Oliver's expression changed immediately. Marcus looked almost triumphant. "There we are." Lucy frowned. "What?" "He disappears the moment we find a sketch of Amelia's stalker. Or he went upstairs for the hard drive like he said." Marcus folded his arms. "He also lied about knowing Arthur, withheld the restored photographs, spent half the first day wandering around unaccounted for, and happened to have the initials Amelia gave Henry. Edward Bell had those initials too. Apparently." Helen looked towards Marcus. "Suspicion improves very little when fed selectively." Marcus did not answer. Oliver checked his watch. "How long?" Lucy thought back. "Maybe 6 or 7 minutes." "I'm going up." "I'm coming." Oliver nodded. "Andrew, stay here. Nobody goes anywhere else." Marcus exhaled. "You've said that before. And I mean it more every time." Lucy followed Oliver upstairs. The atmosphere changed as soon as they left the others behind. The house seemed quieter away from the drawing room, and every closed door along the upper corridor suddenly appeared capable of hiding something important. Elliot's room was near the far end. Oliver knocked. "Elliot?" No answer. He knocked again. "Mr. Brooks?" Nothing. Lucy felt unease begin to rise. Oliver tried the handle. Unlocked. He opened the door. The room appeared empty. Elliot's suitcase lay open on the luggage stand. Clothes had been moved aside. A hard-shell case rested on the bed beside several cables and memory cards. "He was here," Lucy said. Oliver crossed toward the case. "Recently." The camera was missing. The hard drive was not. Lucy looked towards the bathroom. Empty. Then she noticed the balcony door. Open. Cold air moved through the room. Oliver followed her gaze. He went outside. The balcony ran along the eastern side of the house, separated from the western music room balcony by the central tower and several intervening roofs. Rain had stopped almost completely, but the stone remained wet. One set of footprints led away. Lucy stared at them. Again. Oliver crouched. Different tread. You can tell? Yes. Elliot? Possibly. The prince led along the balcony towards a narrow side staircase descending to the lower garden. Lucy looked back into the bedroom. He saw something in the photograph. I know. And instead of telling us, he came up here for the hard drive. Yes. But he didn't take it. Oliver stood. No. So he changed his mind. Or someone changed it for him. That possibility silenced them. Oliver took out his phone and photographed the prince. Then he called downstairs. Andrew. A faint voice answered from the entrance hall. Yes? Keep everyone together. What happened? Just do it. Oliver turned towards Lucy. We follow the route. The side staircase descended into the garden beside the old conservatory. Water dripped from iron railings and overhanging branches. The air smelled of wet earth and salt. Beyond the lawn, the sea had become visible again in broken patches through retreating mist. The footprints continued across the gravel, then disappeared. Wonderful, Lucy muttered. Oliver looked towards three possible directions. One path led back towards the cedar tree, another towards the boathouse. The third followed the cliff edge towards the old chapel ruins. Lucy thought of Elliot's camera. What could he have seen? Oliver shook his head. If we knew that, we wouldn't be following him. They moved toward the cedar tree first. Nothing. The bench remained wet and empty. Lucy looked at the brass plaque that had captured the distorted reflection in Elliot's earlier photograph. No new marks, no discarded object. Oliver examined the ground, but the recent rain had reduced everything to overlapping impressions. Then Lucy saw movement near the old chapel. Not a person, a door. The chapel ruins had appeared almost decorative from a distance, little more than weathered stone walls and ivy. Up close, Lucy noticed a surviving vestry door set into the side. It moved in the wind, open, closed, open. Oliver followed her gaze. Did anyone mention that building was accessible? No. They walked faster. The chapel stood perhaps 200 yards from Ravensmere House. Most of the roof had collapsed decades earlier, leaving the central nave open to the sky. Moss-covered stones lined what had once been the aisle, and a handful of memorial plaques remained fixed to the surviving walls. The small vestry at the rear still had a roof. Oliver reached the door first. Elliot? No answer. He pushed it open. The room smelled of damp stone and mold, empty. An old wooden table stood beneath the only window. On it lay a camera lens cap. Lucy recognized it immediately. His! Oliver picked it up using the edge of a handkerchief. He was here. Beside the table, dust had been disturbed across the floor. Someone had moved quickly. Lucy crouched. A scrape. Another. Then a partial shoe print. He left through here? Oliver looked towards a second narrow door at the back. It opened onto the cliff path. They followed. The sea became louder. Wind moved sharply across the exposed ground, carrying spray from below. The path narrowed as it curved around the edge of the island, bordered on one side by rough grass and on the other by a low stone wall above the cliffs. Lucy stopped. Something black lay beside the wall. Oliver saw it too. Elliot's camera strap. He moved quickly. Elliot! Only the sea answered. Lucy's stomach tightened. They continued along the path. 20 yards farther, the ground widened into a small viewing area overlooking the western bay. Elliot Brooks lay beside the wall. For one irrational second, Lucy thought he had fallen. Then she saw the camera several feet away, and the blood. Oliver reached him first. Don't touch anything. The command came automatically, but Lucy barely heard it. Elliot lay on his side with one arm folded beneath him. Blood darkened the hair above his right ear and had begun mixing with rainwater on the stone. His eyes were open. Lucy knew immediately. Still, Oliver crouched, checked for a pulse. Nothing. His face hardened. Lucy. She looked at him. He's dead. The words felt different this time. Arthur's death had shattered the house. Elliot's death transformed it. Because Arthur might have been killed over something he already knew. Elliot had been killed because of something he had just discovered. Lucy looked towards the camera lying near the wall. Don't. Oliver had seen where her eyes went. I know. They remained still for a moment. Then Lucy noticed something else. Elliot's right hand was clenched tightly against his chest. Inside it, a small torn piece of paper. Oliver saw it too. He leaned close without touching. 3 handwritten numbers were visible. 3, 7, 14. Lucy frowned. What is that? I don't know. Then she looked towards the camera again. The memory returned. Elliot staring at the restored Calder Hotel image. Zooming, recognizing something, refusing to explain. I think he wrote it down. Oliver nodded. Whatever he saw. The wind strengthened around them. Lucy felt suddenly exposed, too visible. Anyone in Ravensmere House could be watching from one of dozens of windows. We need to go back. Oliver stood. We need Henry. Lucy looked towards Elliot. You want to leave him? No. Oliver's voice softened. But I'm not leaving you here alone either. He pulled out his phone and tried calling the house. No signal, and of course. They walked back quickly, neither speaking. When they entered Ravensmere House, every guest was still gathered in the entrance hall. Marcus stood first. Where is he? Oliver closed the front door behind them. Nobody needed to be told something had happened. Henry read Oliver's expression immediately. What? Oliver looked towards him. Bring your medical bag. Henry went pale. Why? Oliver did not soften the answer. Elliot is dead. The silence that followed was absolute. Evelyn sat down suddenly. Andrew stared at Oliver. No. Helen closed her eyes. Neil looked towards the staircase as though Elliot might somehow still descend from it. Marcus was the only one who spoke. That's impossible. Oliver turned. I wish it were. Marcus shook his head. We were just... He stopped. Lucy understood what he had been about to say. We were just accusing him. Everyone had been. Elliot had spent the morning becoming the obvious suspect. Now he was dead. Henry grabbed his bag. Where? Chapel Path. Oliver looked around the hall. Nobody else moves. Marcus laughed weakly. You really think that matters now? Yes. Oliver's voice sharpened. More than ever. He pointed towards Andrew. You stay with everyone. Then to Lucy. You're coming. Helen spoke quietly. Oliver? He stopped. The retired judge's face had changed. For the first time, Lucy saw fear there. Not anxiety, fear. What? Helen looked around the group. Elliot cannot have killed Arthur. Nobody answered. She continued. Not unless we believe a dead man has just murdered himself. The obviousness of it still landed like a blow. Marcus sat down. The entire theory built around Elliot collapsed in a single instant. E.B., the hidden photographs, his contact with Arthur, his unexplained movements, his withholding of evidence, all of it had pointed towards him. Now none of it meant what they thought. Lucy looked from face to face. Arthur's murderer was still here, and they had just watched Elliot walk away alone. Someone else had watched too. Henry confirmed the death only minutes later. He examined Elliot without moving the body unnecessarily, his face grim and focused. Blunt force trauma. Oliver looked towards the blood near Elliot's head. With what? I can't say. Could the fall have caused it? Henry studied the position. No. You're sure? Yes. Henry straightened. He was struck. Lucy felt the certainty settle into her. Murder. No room for ambiguity this time. Time of death? Very recent. How recent? Within the last half hour. Oliver looked towards Lucy, and that meant Elliot had been alive when he left the drawing room. Everyone in Ravensmere House had been together. Almost everyone, Lucy thought back. Henry had entered after they returned from the archive. Neil with him. But what about the minutes before that? People had moved through corridors, rooms, service stairs. Someone had found time. Oliver's face suggested he was doing the same calculation. Then Lucy remembered the paper in Elliot's hand. 3, 7, 14? Henry looked puzzled. What? Oliver pointed carefully. He was holding this. Henry leaned closer. Could be a code. Could be page numbers, Lucy said. Andrew, books, Arthur's archive, photographs, room numbers, dates, everything felt possible. Oliver photographed the paper before carefully removing it with a folded handkerchief. On the reverse side, one additional mark appeared, a single letter. Monsieur Lucy stared. 3, 7, 14, M. Oliver looked towards the house. That meant something to Elliot, and he died before he could tell us. He nodded. Lucy felt anger rise beneath the fear. Arthur had been silenced before his presentation. Now Elliot had been silenced before explaining what he had seen. The killer was not merely hiding. They were responding, listening, adapting. Oliver. He looked at her. We need the camera. They both turned. The camera was gone. Lucy stared at the patch of wet stone where it had been lying. No. Oliver crossed the ground immediately. Nothing. He searched beside the wall. The grass, the path, gone. But it was here. I know. We were away 5 minutes. Maybe 6. Lucy looked towards Ravensmere House. Someone had left the group. Someone had reached the cliff path. Someone had taken Elliot's camera and returned, while everyone else was still trying to understand that he was dead. Oliver's expression became colder than Lucy had ever seen it. The killer knows exactly what he saw. Lucy felt the final illusion of safety disappear. This was no longer an old story being uncovered. It was happening around them now. Someone inside Ravensmere House had killed twice. And the second murder carried a message far clearer than anything Arthur Pembroke had ever intended to say. Stop looking.